One of our last, not the last, but one of the last factoring rules we're going to be learning this year. This one is factoring trinomials of the type ax squared plus bx plus c. Now what's different about these is that a is going to be a number that is not 1 and for the most part is not a perfect square. Most of the time a and c either are both perfect squares or just one of them may be perfect squares or neither one of them are perfect squares. So that's when this rule comes into play, is when one or both of them are perfect squares. Also, if neither one of them are perfect squares. You can actually use this rule on any trinomial that you're factoring. Doesn't have to just be this type. So this is called the guess and check rule. All right, so this is what we do. First, we're going to guess the factors of the first term. So over here, for 20x squared plus 17x plus 3, the first term is 20x squared. So let's write down, right now, let's just write down the factors of the first term. So the factors of 20x squared are x and 20x, 2x and 10x, 4x and 5x. Okay, we're going to come back to that in just a second. Secondly, we're going to guess the factors of the last term. Well, the factors of the last term in this problem is 3. Factors of positive 3 are 1 and 3, negative 1, and negative 3. Okay, so when we guess, it looks like this. We're just going to go through here and we're going to pick one of these factors of 20x squared. So let's pick, I like starting with the two factors that are closest together. So let's start with 4x and 5x. And it doesn't matter, I could have put the 5x here and I could have put the 4x over here. Okay, that doesn't matter. It's just whatever, you're just guessing right now anyway. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 4x being my first one and 5x being in first term in the second parentheses. Okay, now we need to guess the factors of positive 3. So we have them written down. Let's start with the two that are positive. So let's put the 3 in this one and the 1 in this one. Okay, again, it doesn't matter right now, we're just guessing. Okay, so now the third step is to use FOIL to check. So this is where you can do it mentally or you can write it down. Okay, so let's write it down. 4x times 5x is 20x squared. The outside is 4x. The inside is 15x. That adds up to be 19x. And last times last is positive 3. Well, is 19x the middle term? No, it is not. So, if you are wrong, if you guess wrong, you got to start all over. So, when I start all over, I usually start all over with my last term factors. So I'm going to switch around the 1 and the 3. So I'm going to put the 1 here and the 3 here. I don't do too much switching around because that can be confusing. You might miss a combination. So I just switched around 2 numbers. All right, so let's start over with the check again. So we get 20x squared. This is 12x plus 5x. That is 17x, and 1 times 3 is 3. Is that what we started off with? Yes, it is. So our factors of 20x squared plus 17x plus 3 is 4x plus 1 times 5x plus 3. So yes, this process can be one of our longer processes. This is why it's so important to know FOIL. All right, so let's look at this one. The first term, the factors are 2y. The factors of 2y squared are y and 2y. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2, negative 1 and negative 2. So let's guess. I'm going to start with these two, so only 2 I have, y and 2y. And I'm going to put this in my parentheses, and we're going to check. So that's 2y squared, 2y plus 2y is 4y, and last times last is positive 2. Well, is 4y what we have in the middle? No, it's not. So we need to start over. Now, when you start over, again, you don't have to start completely over. I would leave the y and the 2y exactly where they are. And let's switch around the 1 and the 2. So let's put 2 in this one and 1 in this one. All right, so recheck. 2y squared. This is 1y. This is 4y. That does give us 5y. And 2 times 1 is 2. So that is what we have that we wanted to factor. So that means that our answer is y plus 2 times 2y plus 1. Okay, all right, let's look at a few more examples. This time let's look where the last term is a negative. All right, the factors of 3n squared are n and 3n. The factors of negative 6, we have several of those. We have negative 1 and positive 6, 1 and negative 6, negative 2 and positive 3, positive 2 and negative 3. So let's start guessing. Let's use the n and 3n. Of course, that's the only one we have. All right, negative 6. I like, again, to start with the two that are closest together. So let's start with negative 2 and positive 3. We're just going to start here. So let's use FOIL to check. It's 3n squared. That's 3n. And negative 6n is negative 3n. That'd be negative 6. Okay, negative 3n is not negative 7n. So let's start over. Again, I don't like to start completely over. Let's switch around the 3 and the negative 2. So we'll put positive 3 here, negative 2 here. Now let's check. 3n squared, negative 2n, plus, this is positive 9n, that's positive 7n, and 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Now, we have positive 7n, but we want negative 7n. So this is where I say we're close. We just need to change our signs around. So instead of having a positive 3, we're going to put a negative 3. All right, so when you switch your signs, recheck just to make sure you didn't rewrite them the same way you already had them. There we go. There's negative 7n. Okay, so our factors of 3n squared minus 7n minus 6 will be n minus 3 times 3n plus 2. All right, let's look at another example like that. All right, so we have 20p squared is the first term. There's all the factors of 20p squared. Factors of negative 9. Those are all the factors of negative 9. So let's guess. Now, whenever I have a lot of factors of the first term, I start with the two that are closest together. 4p and 5p. So over here, we'll start with the two that's closest together. All right, so check 20p squared. This is negative 12p. This is positive 15p. That gives us positive 3p. Not even close. We want negative 31p. So that's not even close. So it really won't even help me to switch the signs. So let's change up numbers altogether. So we know it's not these two. So let's go to negative 1 and positive 9. All right, so we're going to check 20p squared. This is positive 36p. This is negative 5p. We get positive 31p and then minus 9. Now we have positive 31p. We want negative 31p. So what do we need to do? Leave our numbers exactly where they are and just switch our signs. So we're going to make this a positive 1 and a negative 9. Now again, I always like to recheck just to make sure I didn't rewrite the same signs I already had. So it's 36p plus 5p, negative 36p plus 5p is negative 31p. All right, so those factors, 4p plus 1 times 5p minus 9, those will equal 20p squared minus 31p minus 9. Okay, two more. These last two, again, we started with the greatest common factor rule because we will be using that one a lot, using it the most. So let's first factor out the GCF. So of all these terms, the greatest common factor is 5. So we're going to factor out a 5. Remember, when you do factor out a 5, you're just dividing each term by 5. Go back. So that will be 4x squared plus 16x plus 7. So we have this trinomial inside the parentheses here. And we're going to write down the factors of the first term. So the factors of 4x squared are x and 4x, 2x and 2x. Factors of 7 are 1 and 7, negative 1 and negative 7. So let's guess, oops, let's guess 2x and 2x. Again, I like to start with the two that are closest together. So 2x and 2x, and let's use positive 1 and positive 7. So let's check. That's 4x squared, 14x plus 2x, that is 16x, and 1 times 1 is 7. So that is what we have inside that parentheses. So that means that 4x squared plus 16x plus 7 factors into 2x plus 1, 2x plus 7. Now, remember to bring down that 5. We started out with that greatest common factor. It has to be part of our answer. All right, let's look at one more. Number 6, the greatest common factor just happens to be 6. So divide each term by 6, and we get 3k squared minus 2k minus 1. So this trinomial, we're looking at the factors of the first term. So the factors of 3k squared are k and 3k. The factors of negative 1 and positive 1, or positive 1 and negative 1. So we don't have too many choices. So let's start with k and 3k. And let's start with negative 1 and positive 1. And check. So we get 3k squared, positive k, negative 3k. That gets us negative 2k. Negative 1 times positive 1 is negative 1. That is what I have inside that parentheses there. So that means that 3k squared minus 2k minus 1 will factor into k minus 1, 3k plus 1. So don't forget to bring down that GCF. That's part of the answer. Okay? All right, so that's the guess and check rule. You now need to move to the back of the notes and do the student problems and submit your Google form.